Africa news, and the UN issues a call to action over spiralling violence in Central African Republic. This is France promises to boost its military presence in the country. Also, the International Criminal Court reverses a decision allowing Kenya's president to decide when he can and cannot attend his crimes against humanity trial in The Hague, a judgment that might well set the World Court on a collision course with Nairobi. And our correspondents head out to South Africa, where game reserves are mobilising against an escalation in the poaching of rhinos. First up, though, as the number of those fleeing spiralling violence in Central African Republic mounts further into the hundreds of thousands, France is pledging more troops to help rein in the chaos. President Michel Dutodi is no longer in control of former Seleka fighters who were behind his takeover in March, and clashes and revenge attacks between Muslim militia and Christian self-defense groups has added to the bloodshed. Well, France fears the crisis could destabilize the region and says it will boost its military presence in CAR following a UN resolution next week. Well, earlier, France's UN ambassador told us more.
You have a very weak transition authority, which is by not controlling anything. Second point, the problem is a problem of law and order. You know, you don't have armed groups in front of you. You are not fighting an opposition. You are thugs. You know, you have really who are plundering, who are raping, but who don't have a political program. So the idea is first to re-establish law and order with the Africans, and after that, it will be to the Africans, you know, to support a political transition so that we can come back to a constitutional process in Central African Republic.
Supporters of former Congolese Vice President Jean-Pierre Bemba are accusing the government of conspiring with the International Criminal Court over the recent arrest of several of his aides. Bemba and two associates are due to appear before ICC judges on Wednesday. His opposition MLC party is threatening to pull out of the National Assembly.
At headquarters of the MLC, one of the main opposition parties, activists are angry following the arrests of 4 people for corrupting witnesses in the trial of MLC leader Jean-Pierre Bemba in The Hague. Among the 4 was the number 3 man in the party, Fidel Babalawendu. Arrested at the request of the International Criminal Court, he was immediately brought to The Hague. The MLC is not sitting idle. The party is threatening to pull out of DR Congo's National Assembly, citing a crackdown against Jean-Pierre Bemba.
We were surprised by this crackdown, by the speed at which the arrest warrant was carried out and our colleague expedited.
They're hounding Jean-Pierre Bemba. They rely on informants to try and undermine the party's leadership and his defense strategy.
His defense team has also been hard hit. Lawyer Aimé Kilolo and an aide were arrested in Brussels and the Netherlands. A 4th person was arrested in France. Along with Bemba, they are suspected of obstructing justice in the context of his trial.
According to information we have received, we suspect them of establishing a network of false documents. They allegedly tried also to influence witnesses.
A first appearance at the ICC court in The Hague is scheduled for Wednesday for influencing witnesses. This is a new charge hanging over the head of Jean-Pierre Bemba, already accused of war crimes and crimes against humanity.
Like his vice president, the leader has been told by the International Criminal Court that he's no longer able to excuse himself from his crimes against humanity trial in The Hague. On Tuesday, Uhuru Kenyatta was informed that he must now ask for a leave of absence whenever he wants to skip sessions. He and his deputy, William Ruto, faced charges over post-electoral violence in 2007. Both have said that the proceedings would affect their performance of their official duties. While an appeals chamber says that there is no room for blanket excusals, and having instructed Ruto to be present at his trial, has also reversed a ruling that afforded partial attendance to Kenyatta. Well, Fadi El Abdallah works in The Hague as a spokesperson for the International Criminal Court. I spoke to him a little bit earlier and asked him about Kenya's assertion that having its top leaders in and out of foreign courts will just impact on its ability to maintain regional stability. Here's what he had to say.
This is a political consideration. Judicial institution, like any court, like the International Criminal Court, cannot take political consideration into account. We have to apply only the legal rules as it has been adopted by the states that created the Rome Statute and the International Criminal Court. Political matters that have other fora where they can be discussed. But before the ICC, there are legal rules, and we have to play by our own legal rules. We cannot change that ourselves. It's for the states eventually to amend it. But what we have is what the appeals chamber has indicated, which is that there is no room for a blanket excusal. An excusal can be granted, and we've seen that with the trial against Mr. Ruto. Mr. Ruto has been excused on several occasions, but this has to be requested, and the judges have to consider that on a case-by-case.
So what was the reasoning behind the ICC changing its mind over a decision that is inevitably just going to further inflame animosity between African member states and the World Court?
Well, first, I'm not sure this will inflame the relations. There are discussions that are ongoing now during the Assembly of States Parties. It's an annual session, and representatives of several countries, including Kenya, are discussing all these matters from their point of view and what would that require in terms of legal basis. But for the ICC, it was not changing its mind. It was the appeals chamber that has ruled on a decision that was first decided by the trial chamber. And like with any legal system, there are different levels. The appeals chamber is the highest chamber at the ICC, and it is the chamber that has established what we should understand from our legal rules, which is that excusal can be granted, but only on exceptional basis, on a case-by-case basis, and when there are exceptional circumstances that justify that.
Fadiel Abdullah speaking to us there a little earlier. The Malians are still waiting for the results of parliamentary elections that will further mark a return to democratic rule following the coup last year that led to a Tuareg rebellion and an Islamist invasion. Now, there's still some resentment against the coup leader who sparked over a year of instability and violence, but the Malian government says Captain Amadou Sanogo is not really a priority.
Nous considérons qu'il n'est pas un problème pour nous, honnêtement.
We don't consider him a problem. Honestly, there are far more crucial issues we need to address.
Et puis, je pense que progressivement,
And I think progressively, people will realize there's nothing special about him. He's just like anybody else. He's not above the law, he has no special privilege or any kind of special security detail.
pas de privilège particulier, ni de protection particulière.
And honestly, to us, Sanogo is not a problem.
To South Africa now, where more than 700 rhino have been killed since the beginning of the year. Many of those buying their horns hail from Asia, who are willing to pay up to $65,000 per kilo, a price that just encourages poachers to take risks. Our local authorities are trying to fight back, as our correspondents found out.
The anti-poaching units train here in the Madikwe Private Game Reserve in 65,000 hectares of bush near the Botswana border. It's ideal terrain for aerial or foot patrols. These elite units are experts in the art of camouflage.
When you are at the bush, you must cover yourself and looks like the grass, especially when the poachers come. It is difficult for them to see you from the distance. We keep them come close to us and shoot up and catch them.
And it's worked. Not a single rhinoceros was killed here since last April.
They quite often they're ex-military from some period in time. The guys are armed, and we've seen an increase in the personal weapons now. Before it would just be a rifle to kill a rhino and an axe or a saw, or perhaps a panga. Now they're bringing pistols to defend themselves now.
Desperate times demand desperate measures. A British Special Forces veteran who fought in Iraq, Bosnia and Afghanistan is called in to train. They are sponsored by one of the biggest military equipment manufacturers in Africa. The anti-poaching drive will be extended across the continent.
We're not prepared to sit back and wait. We want to support government, we want to help the national parks authorities, we want to help the continent, and we want to show that the private sector and the business can make a difference.
Backing his words with action, he has donated a helicopter to the South African national parks. But in a country where 2 rhinos are killed every day, it's a race against time.
If the poaching is increased at the same rate that it's increasing at the moment, potentially by 2020, we could be looking at the first species extinction.
There are fewer than 5,000 black rhinos left in the world. Most of them live and die in South Africa.
That wraps up African News for me. I will be back, though, with more tomorrow, Mark.
Georgia, thank you very much indeed. Georgia Carver-Smith with African News. We're taking a short break. After that, we return with another world news update. We've got sport for you and the latest instalment in our tour of the Maghreb region. Stay with us. So in terms of what you